Courage to change may sound scary. I know it does for a lot of us. But in this video, I'm going to share with you some struggles and how you can get the courage to change. Hello everybody, Tyler here from We're Not So Different, man. I just wanted to start off this one right here with the Serenity Prayer, because it speaks a lot about the courage and being able to change. Because you know, as addicts, man, that's one thing that really puts us in awe. I mean, do we have to change everything? Really? Like, how do you change everything? How does one do that, you know? It's a tough question to ask. But anyways, we're going to start this one off with the Serenity Prayer and go from there. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, as addicts, we all know this if we've been to meetings. You know, you hear it all the time. Literally, every time you go to a meeting. I know one thing, man. Recovery involves change, and change means doing things differently. The problem is, many of us resist doing things differently. Now ask yourself, why do we always resist doing things differently? You know, why is that something that we buck against? Because, you know, I remember when I first got into NA and getting clean and going to rehabs, they told me when I walked in, like, man, you got to change everything. And I was very in fear of that, because let alone changing my habits, but to change everything, like, I was just in awe. And that felt like a big task right up front. The first thing that they want us to do, you know, it was very scary, for sure. Have you ever thought that what we were doing wasn't working, but the fact that we was familiar with it made it okay? I know I have, man, plenty of times. And it's crazy, because it's like we get used to living in that chaos and that insanity, you know. And insanity, the definition, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. When we know what the outcome is, knowing what's going to happen, we still do it anyways, you know. I mean, I never really grasped that, because it's like I always thought, you know, this time it could be different, you know what I mean? I would always do something better this time that would, you know, it would finally be that, oh, you know, moment to where I finally got it. But yet, I kept doing the same thing. So how could I not expect a different result? But yet I did every single time, and it was crazy. So it takes courage to step out into the unknown. So how do we find that courage? You know, I know for me, like, the fear of unknowing really bothered me, because, you know, who's to say that once I get clean and I'm doing great and everything's good, you know, who's to say I'm not going to want to use again? Who's to say that I don't have a bad day, something happens to me and I say, oh, you know, I run back to dope, because that was the one thing in my life that was consistent. That was the one thing in my life that always took the pain away and always numbed me, no matter what I was feeling. So who's to say that when I get on down the road, I don't go through a traumatic phase to where I want to get high? You know, you cannot say that. So what you do is that you prepare yourself for that situation. What happens when a family member dies? What happens when you lose everything and you're bankrupt and broke and no one's there for you? You know, what happens then? How do you prepare yourself for that? You know, what are you going to do to make sure that you make it this time? You know, a lot of times I hear that if we put in half the effort that we put into getting high, it would be easy, you know? It would be simple for us. But it's like when we get clean, we don't have that same strive that we did for dope. See, because when we was getting high, we'd do whatever it took to make sure we got well, right? For those of you that are heroin addicts out there, I know you can relate to this. You would have done anything to make sure you was well if you were sick. That's the truth. I mean, it's facts of the matter. I mean, there's no denying that, you know what I mean? So one thing that I always go to and that I always like to say is that if I'm not the problem, there is no solution. Why I say this is because because a lot of times as addicts, we like to point the finger and blame everybody else for our problems. Oh, it was you. You did it. We don't take responsibility for our actions. But when we finally get to understand that it was our fault, we did this to ourselves, that's when we finally realize it's like a freaking spiritual awakening in some cases, because we know I was the problem. I'm the reason this kept happening to me. I can't keep blaming everybody else for my mistakes. And once I realized that, it really helped me to find my path. But back to the struggles, man. I see my mother get beat in front of me first, like, couple years of my life. It really affected me to a point to where I had PTSD from it. And I have to deal with them situations. And anytime that I felt some type of way or anything triggered me, I would use, because when I got high, I didn't feel nothing. I was numb to the world. And it really helped me get by with things, but at the end of the day, I was just covering it up. And what I was doing was just putting it to the wayside. And then eventually it'd pop back up once my euphoric high wore off. And it really bothered me. So getting back to change, I really had to implement stuff in my life that connected me back with the community, that gave me a purpose. Because when you find your purpose, dude, life gets so much easier, because you no longer have that guilt and shame. You actually feel as if you mean something. And once you mean something to more than just yourself, first and foremost, you got to mean something to yourself. You know, as addicts, we beat ourselves up, man, and we really amount ourselves to a pile of shit. I mean, I know I did. To actually have self-worth is the foundation. It's the start. You have to love yourself, and you have to genuinely mean it when you say that. And today I can say I truly love me. I love the man that I'm becoming, and I'm forgetting the boy that I was. I'm just grateful, man. And I'm very thankful that I had my struggles, though, because my struggles allowed me to become the man I am today. I wouldn't be able to get on this camera in front of you guys and talk to you about, you know, what's going on in my life, because I wouldn't have had the courage. I wouldn't have had the courage to change, because I didn't want to change. I was okay living as the dope fiend. That was comfortable for me. You know, once you're in chaos for so long, it becomes a custom. It becomes comfortable. It becomes your normal. A lot of people say, like, what's normal for you? You know, for me, normal's a setting on a washing machine. I think everybody has their own norm. Mine was chaos. I went through a lot of it. It was crazy, man. But I'm glad that I went through all the struggles I did, because I can sit here in front of you guys today and say, look, I made it. You know, I'm still an addict, and that's never going to change, but I actually have ambitions today. You know, I have goals and hopes and dreams to one day, you know, maybe even open a recovery house and be able to help others just like me find their way in life. Young entrepreneurs that are trying to come up in this world and make a name for themselves. To be an influencer, to actually grab a hold of somebody's attention and to show them that life can be so much better than what they're allowing it to be, because they're settling. Why settle? Why settle for less when you can have so much more? Ask yourself that. I did my whole life. I settled for whatever I could get because it was easy. When I finally took the high road and stopped using and became clean and was able to focus on what was important in my life, then is when I became, you know, able to really understand what I wanted. Because before, that's all I wanted was drugs. Now I want so much more. I have goals and dreams. You know, I'm a young entrepreneur, not young, 30 years young, you know what I mean? But I'm beginning to be an entrepreneur. You know, I have my own business now. I'm starting to be successful. And at the same time, that scares me too, because that courage to change still comes back into play with, okay, well, I have a fear of success. You know, being successful scares me, because what if I let somebody down? What if I'm an influencer and I let the people down? You know, then what? How do you come back from that? You know, that's something you can't worry about right now. What you got to focus on is what's important to you and what's going to get you further in life. What's going to help you. Quit hanging around with them people that have nothing to offer and that can't even have an intellectual conversation with you. You know, if you go up to another man and you're like, hey, man, I want to have an intimate conversation. They're like, oh, whoa, bro, that's weird. Like, leave them alone. Move on with your life. You know what I mean? Find better friends. Because I promise you, them people are going to do nothing but bring you down. And trust and believe, misery loves company. And I've been seeing a lot of it lately, right here on Facebook, man. This thing right here, boom. I've been getting a lot of it. But it's okay, because now I'm a man. I'm no longer a boy. I don't allow it to where before I would have been like, what's your location? I'll share mine right now. Come get your ass whooped, to where now I sit back as a man and I analyze it and I'm like, look, man, I can't waste my time on this joker. I can't. He's miserable. He wants me to be miserable with him, and I'm not going to allow that today. I'm taking charge of my life, and I'm doing what's best for me to build this legacy that I want to leave behind when I pass. You know? I want my kids to have something to look up to, and they can sit there and say, my daddy was somebody. You know? Or if you're a mother out there, my mom was somebody. You know? Take a stand for you, and be there for your kids. And just try to be the best you can, man. Adulting sucks sometimes, but it's okay. And speaking to all my addict people out there, man, hey, something's got to change. If you're still out there and you're using, please, seek a rehab. If you're from the Hamilton area, go to Sojourner, man. That's where I went. I love it there. I'm like their poster child. I've been there 11 times. I'm sorry, I've been 3 times to Lemire, and the other 9 times was at Sojourner. But I finally got my certificate, you know? And you can do it too, man. I got faith in you guys. But yes, man, please, let me know in the comments, man, like what you guys are going through, man. No one really ever, you know, gets on here and gets real. I want to see real raw, like, bro, if you're struggling with something, let me know. I want to hear about it. You know, maybe I've been through a similar situation and can help you out. And give you my experience, strength, and hope on how I made it. You never know, man. Hey, I know asking for help sucks, and I get it. But I promise you, it gets better, and it gets a lot easier the more you do it. But I love you guys, man. Thank you all for tuning in. Always remember, don't cheat yourself, treat yourself. And we're not so different. I love you guys, man. If you're new here, consider subscribing. If you already are subscribed, make sure you hit that bell, man. Be part of the notification. Ding, ding, ding. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't hit that bell, you will not get my notifications. I'm way too small of a channel for them to even pay attention to. So, you know. But we definitely are growing in numbers, man. We hit 375 subscribers. I'm super excited about that, man. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support. Y'all are great. And we're just going to keep moving forward, man. Thank you guys, though. I love y'all. Hey, call your mom, call your dad, if they're still here. If they're not, send them a prayer. If they are, call them. Tell them you love them and miss them, man. It'll mean the world to them. Love you guys, man. Peace.